Hey everybody, this is Ron, and today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on Alien Romulus. I know I'm a little late to the party, but I figured it would be fun to give my thoughts about this new entry in the Alien franchise. So I'll start with the opening. I loved everything about this. The silence in space until it zooms into the ship with the old retro-futuristic technology starting up just like the first film. And some might say it's too much fan service, but I don't care. I really like that this movie is directly connected to the original Alien. And I think showing the wreckage of the Nostromo and retrieving the original alien, which is now in a cocoon, was a cool idea. I love the sinister music here and all of the Weyland workers in hazmat suits cutting through to get to the alien. The whole thing is very ominous. I really love that Fede Alvarez portrays them as this completely faceless organization here. It's very effective. And I didn't really want a standalone movie where it's a completely different crew coming into contact with another Xenomorph. I wanted it to be more connected to what came before and after, and they did a pretty good job doing that for the most part. And just to go back to that retro-futuristic thing, I really am so happy that they kept the screens just how they were in the original Alien. And they did a great job with the design of this whole film to really make it feel like it fits in with that original 1979 film. And this is something that Prometheus was lacking, even though I actually like that movie. I think the technology used in that movie was just a little too new looking and sleek, and it didn't look like it came from the same universe as the first film, which is weird because Prometheus takes place way before Alien. So that always kind of bothered me that it didn't sync up properly, and this movie doesn't have that problem at all, which is great. The mining planet where our protagonists start out was a good change of pace from just being in space the whole time. It was interesting to see how people live in this future and just how far-reaching Weyland-Yutani is. It also shows how they treat their workers, so they're definitely an evil corporation. As for the characters themselves, they were fine. I think it was a good idea to have a younger cast this time because everyone in the first one was a lot older and more seasoned, with Ripley being the exception. So it was interesting to see how differently this younger group handled these type of horrific situations. Rain was a good main character, nothing too special, but this is basically a B sci-fi movie. So you're never really going to get the most fleshed out characters. And I don't blame them for not instantly creating another Ripley. The actress who played Rain carried the movie really well to make it work though. Andy was a great addition to the androids of the Alien franchise. He's a much more sympathetic character than any robot we've seen before, and that ramps up the tension when things take a turn for the worse and he's implanted with a chip that changes him drastically to suit the needs of the company, or Weyland-Yutani. There are nice little references and callbacks throughout this movie. Even that little bar sign when Rain and Andy are walking through the streets in the beginning is the same one from Aliens when the Marines first arrive on the terraformed LV-426. The references to Prometheus were cool, and having the accelerant or the black goo worked into this story was nice as well because now everything feels like it fits together. And Fede Alvarez uses the lore of the Alien franchise in really clever ways. For example, Rain using that little freeze gun on the facehugger to let go of Navarro was cool, and also making a room the same as their body temperature to basically become invisible to the facehuggers was a neat idea and actually added more tension than just making an easy way for them to escape them. The standout moment or idea for me was the acid blood in Zero Gravity scene. That was pretty badass, and it was a cool way for Rain to mow down the Xenomorph xenomorphs without spraying acid everywhere. And it was also just very interesting visually. There was also a really cool setup and payoff with this little piece of technology that is basically like a stick that you can hold up to your body and it just instantly shows you an X-ray. And it was cool because when the Navarro chest burst scene is about to happen, they managed to make a shocking scene that we've all seen before fresh again. So I really think Fede Alvarez did a good job with that type of stuff, putting familiar elements into the movie but presenting them in different ways that are exciting. The sound design in this film was great. I usually don't notice that type of stuff the first time around watching a movie, but this was a great experience in the theater. One little criticism I could say is it did feel like a video game at times. It just felt like a video game cutscene when Rain is in that spacesuit swinging around outside of the ship at the end, but it wasn't too bad. Also, Andy saying the line, "Get away from her, you bitch," was completely unnecessary, and it just didn't need to be said. I don't know. It just didn't need to be there. It's almost like Fede Alvarez got studio notes and they told him to add a line from Aliens to, I don't know, make people clap in the theater or something, and it just didn't really work. I do wish there was just a little bit more Xenomorph action. I think when the chest burster scene with Navarro happens and the alien actually sheds its skin and becomes, the big xenomorph that we all know. That was really cool because we didn't see that in the first film. We just saw the skin on the ground, and then all of a sudden the xenomorph is huge and it's attacking people. But we've never really seen the cocoon-like thing happen where it's in it and it's forming and then it bursts out of that and starts wreaking havoc. And that was really cool because it was just this gradual dread building up with the Kay character because she's right next to where the xenomorph is, coming to life again in its new body. And then when she's under the staircase or whatever it is, and you just hear how heavy the footsteps of the xenomorph is, that was really cool too. It just set up this really claustrophobic and terrifying situation. And then as the movie goes on, there's really not as much xenomorph interaction as you would think. I thought they were gonna show some restraint and just have it be that one xenomorph, but they go into aliens territory, which wasn't too bad. I mean, there's the pulse rifle in the movie, and that's obviously from Aliens, and the one character, I think his name is Tyler or something, he even explains that the Colonial Marines use it and he knows how to work them pretty well, so he shows Rain. So that was cool. It was kind of like an Aliens callback, with him teaching her how to shoot, and then that pays off later. I haven't read or watched any other reviews of this movie, but I'm assuming a lot of people had a problem with the whole Ian Holm thing. Having him return in a similar way to what they did with Tarkin in Rogue One was surprising, but I was also just surprised how bad it looked compared to other movies using the same technology. I just kind of chalked it up to him being an android, so he looked a little off. And honestly, I liked that he was in it, regardless of how it looked, because again, it ties this in nicely to the original film and makes everything feel more connected. He's not reprising his role as Ash, but it's the same model, this time named Rook. And his involvement was a good way to give us some fast-paced exposition to keep things moving along. I thought the offspring was pretty cool. I mean, it was a gruesome birth scene, which is, fits in with the Alien franchise perfectly. And the thing looked really scary. I know it was played by some basketball player. And I like that that was the main, the final boss of this film, because it's a lot different than the Xenomorph. I mean, it was weird that they just kind of all die and then that's the last thing, when it's maybe should be focused on the Xenomorph since it's called Alien. But it was interesting and it was pretty freaky. wacky. Again, it ties into Prometheus, which I liked as well. But it did kind of feel a little anticlimactic, like Rain didn't have enough trouble with him, but it wasn't too bad. It was pretty cool. Obviously, she gets into that spacesuit just like Ripley does at the end of Alien. But again, like I was saying before, it's presenting familiar things and then just putting his own spin on it, which I think was the intention, and it worked for me. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't like, oh, I've seen this before and like, what is this, just like a remake of the first one? I didn't really feel that way. So I did end up really enjoying this movie. It was a good theater experience. I didn't check the runtime, but I felt like it was the perfect length. If it was long, I didn't feel it, so that's a good sign. It was a good movie with some clever bits, and a couple silly things happen, but not enough to ruin the whole movie. And at the end of the day, Xenomorphs showed up and they killed people, so that's all we really needed to see again. I'm not asking for much with these type of movies personally, but I know some people had some problems with this movie, and that's fine too. Do I think it's a great Alien movie? Probably not, but it's a very good one, and that's fine. That's fine for me.